SABC issued a statement that it has noted the contents and pronouncements made in a press briefing by the chairperson of the subcommittee on communications of the ANC, Jackson Mthembu. The SABC is, however, particularly concerned that some utterances made are misleading. At no point did the SABC say the decision not to broadcast the destruction of public property during the violent protests is a policy position. The SABC was responding to a press conference that was addressed by Jackson Mthembu on Tuesday regarding the public broadcaster. Let's get some clarity now. Kaizer Kganyago, the SABC spokesperson, is joining us from our Hatfield Studios this morning. Kaizer, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to all the viewers.
All right, let's just get a little bit of understanding here. When we say that the SABC's decision not to broadcast the destruction of public property during violent protests is a policy position, that is what SABC is saying it isn't. It isn't a policy position. What's going on? Just talk to me about where we stand on all of this.
Yes, what we are saying, Leanne, is that this, when we're looking at the press conference a day before yesterday, we heard that there was an indication that we have changed our policy. And we are saying that we have not changed any policy. We take editorial decisions day by day. Therefore, if every time we have got to make an editorial decision, we have got to be consulting other people, we will never have any news on our platforms. And we are saying the decision that we took was a principled decision where we are basically saying we are taking a stand as the SABC that we are not going to glamorize violence that is happening. And we, among other things, we are using the BCCSA code, which is basically saying that we should not at any particular stage be seen to be glamorizing violence on our platforms.
Okay. Let's just find out, after everything that's been happening over the last 2 weeks, a lot of dissent from the ANC, from other journalists from different political parties, different unions, lots of journalists and international media organizations. Does our stance here at the SABC still stand that we will not be showing these visuals?
Yes, definitely. Our stand is still standing, or the position that we have put is still there. But one thing that we need to emphasize, because people out there are giving an impression that the SABC is in a crisis. We are not in any crisis. We have got some few people from our newsroom in Johannesburg who are basically supporting or standing with these groupings that are taking the SABC. And one thing that people need to know is we've got a relationship with these employees, which is an employer-employee relationship. We are not going to take kindly to the fact that people want to interfere in our employer-employee issues. And we also want to emphasize that anybody who goes against the policies of the organization and is an employee will be dealt with, because we do not want people who want to give an impression that there is a crisis at the SABC. Because for me, when there is a crisis, it is when we are unable to broadcast. And we are in this position where we are able to broadcast, and we are positioning ourselves and making sure that the people of South Africa receive the information that they deserve to get. And for anyone to go out there and say there is a crisis is not correct. But secondly, Leanne, there is this issue of people thinking that if one group of people talk, it means everybody else agrees with that. We know that ever since we came up with this decision that we have made, we have had people coming out supporting us. If people remember, the ANC also at that particular time came out and supported our stand, and so did many other people, the same way as there are now people who are saying they don't agree with us. At the end of the day, we have made a decision, and you must also know that broadcasting is regulated, and because it is regulated, we have been taken to ICASA by some groupings, and we have acceded to that. We went there and put our position at ICASA.
Okay, let me just dissect a little bit of what you were saying now. One by one, there's 2 points I want to bring out. You're saying that there's some dissent within the newsroom and just a few people are speaking out. But these people are very senior positions that are being held by them. Senior journalists, senior editors who are coming out and saying it's unacceptable, it's not right. And to say that they will be dealt with is almost giving freedom of speech and direction away. I mean, we had an article in a newspaper yesterday by one of our contributing political editors who's been with us for many, many years. I'm talking about Vuyo Mvoko. We also look at Lucanio Kalata speaking out. These are guys that have been in this industry for a very long time, and they are voicing their dissent, and yet they are being looked down upon for doing that. Is this the way the SABC is going to handle going forward journalists who feel that they need a voice to state that this is not right?
Leanne, every organization has got its own policies, and everybody knows the policies of the organization. They know the processes of raising issues in the organization. Therefore, anyone who wants to then go into the public space and want to voice things in the public space when they have not done so internally, it's really disrespecting the rules and the policies of the organization. That is why when we deal with the policies, because we cannot allow a situation where there is anarchy and it is everyone for himself in the name of saying that we have got freedom of speech. But everything that you do, you've got to have responsibilities. But you have also signed to say this is what I will do for the organization, and I will respect the rules and regulation of the organization. That is why we are saying we will deal with the people in terms of the regulations that we have in the organization, because that is what binds the relationship between employer and employee. Because we cannot allow, like for example, there were organizations like the SACP yesterday who were saying that people must defy. Which organization in the world can allow people to defy management because there is people outside of the organization who are saying to them that they must do so?
Let's now just talk about the ANC stance on all of this. And I know that the SABC basically saying that some of the statements made during the press conference are misleading. You did say earlier that the ANC, when it was first announced of the SABC's editorial changes, they were in favor of it. It really does seem now that they're not in favor of it. I mean, some of the words that are being used, that's saying it is not a beauty contest. Jackson is the head of communications. This is what Gwede Mantashe had to say yesterday. So his views are the views of the ANC. The SABC had been caused by incompetent leadership at the top, and we are not in favor of what's happening at the public broadcaster. Now, they're coming out very strongly saying that they're not in favor of what's going on. There seems to be a battle within the leading party as well as to their stance on the SABC.
No, it looks like that, but obviously it is not up to us to determine whatever is happening within the ANC. All that we are saying is we know that there are divergent views around the issues that we have come up with. And obviously it is clear we will always have divergent views, especially in this particular instance. We had divergent views from people who are in the ANC in top positions. And for us, it is not really something that we want to engage in and say whether it is right or wrong. It is something that they will deal with. All we are saying is we have put up a position out there, and this is what we are standing on up until there is anything that comes up. But anyone who wants to engage us, they are free to engage us.
What about Jimmy Matthews? Let's talk about that level. We're talking about the CEO who put out a rather scathing resignation letter talking about what's happening here and how unhappy he is and the decision process that's going on here and how he's not proud of being associated with the SABC. Well, what is your response to that?
Now, our response has been very simple, because when a person goes out there and resign, for example, and not give us an opportunity to engage him, it becomes very difficult, because some of the things that he says, he knows where he's sitting, that he was part of those decisions and he made those decisions together with us. Therefore, it is not something that we want to be engaging in the public space with, because he did not want to engage. For him to resign and put his resignation letter on the social media, it was clear from our position that he did not want to engage. Therefore, we really clear that he did not want to engage, and we know that some of the decisions are made with him in there, and some were made even by him as the head of news at the time when he was here.
Yeah, which he admitted to, and he's been speaking very, very openly about that. Finally, before I let you go, Kaizer, we're seeing that ICASA is to rule on complaints submitted by media groups against the SABC's decision not to air the footage of violent protests. What are your expectations on this?
Obviously, we have put our position to ICASA, and we will expect that they rule in our favor. But like I said in the beginning, we are regulated as a broadcaster, and ICASA is the regulator, and they will give us direction on what to do.
All right, we leave it there. Thanks so much for talking to us. Kaizer Kganyago is the SABC spokesperson. He's joining us from our Pretoria studios this morning.